Hey, what is up, YouTube? This is Stellar Toad, and today we're going to be talking about the wings of God. Okay? So, that is a flowery term, and it's pretty much useful. It's not useless. It's not a useless term. See, I'm saying the wings of God because it's what allows this creation that is in this world to exist. The creation of the collective consciousness, the creation of chaos, the creation of the matter itself, okay? This is the wings that allow this whole system to fly instead of collapsing back into the singularity, alright? So, the first attribute of God, now we can call these elements. You know what? I'll call them elements, alright? The first element is not fire, air, earth, water, ether. It's not ice. Could be ice. Anyway, so there are two elements, and there are four elements. Let's get into this. Chaos. Chaos is the first element. What does that mean? It sounds edgy. It's not supposed to sound edgy. Basically, what chaos is the lack of order. And that seems obvious. The lack of order, like pi, P-I. You see, the numbers go on forever but never repeat. Never do the numbers in pi ever repeat themselves. They constantly go on and on and on. Now, there's only 10 numbers, okay? There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What the fuck? I counted 0. I know that was like tripping me out for a second. So yeah. That's only 9 numbers, or 8, or it's fucking 10 numbers, but, you know, if you count it 1. But it's really only 9 numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. And that can repeat forever without ever repeating. That can go on and on and on forever without ever repeating. So something with an infinite number of positions within 3D space, within 2D space, within 1D space, 4D space, however many dimensions there are, which could be infinite. And the amount of arrangements, and what I'm saying is the multiverse is much bigger than pi could ever dream of being. Okay, it's much, much, much longer. It's a bigger infinity. Okay, so if you take the numbers and put them if you take the numbers and count forever, that's one infinity. But then if you take the numbers and arrange them into every set of 2, that's a bigger infinity. There's, like, way more. Every set of 3, that's bigger. Every set of 4, you know, that's bigger. Because then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have 3, 2, 4, 1. All those sets made from the 4 numbers. Now take infinite numbers. That's a bigger, bigger, bigger infinity. Alright? So, yeah, pretty much. Chaos is the multiverse. That's what the multiverse is. It is the truth of in-order, of in-orderability, in-governability. It is not even understandable. God is an octopus with an arm reaching into each timeline, each universe within this multiverse. So that's the first element, that of chaos. The next element is that of order. Well, you take one aspect of chaos, one order from chaos, one set of numbers, and turn it into this finite thing. And this finite thing can repeat itself all day long and all day long, and it creates order. Now, the conscious beings that exist within order, we can only exist within order. We cannot exist solely within the chaos. And yet we exist multiply within the chaos. There's billions and infinite numbers of me and infinite numbers of you within this multiverse that we live in. But we're not aware of them, so we can only live in order as a single being. Now, this order changes constantly because we as conscious beings sink into meaninglessness and absurdity. And that's when we begin to understand this chaos. Once we begin to understand this chaos, we try to define it. We try to define the chaos and bring order to it. In doing so, we actually bring chaos to the order. and this disrupts the order, changing the order that was slightly, the new order, the way which is to come. Okay? And so we change the order ever so slightly every single day as one more person sinks into chaos and absurdity and comes back and changes the world. Okay? So the next element is that of fire. Fire is an element of consciousness rather than an element of the greater Godhead. Godhead. What the fuck is that? Meaningless. The Godhead is nothing at all. God is God, and God is not God. God is bigger than God. It's not light, it's not dark, or the force that bestows either. Something different than that. It's indefinable. Okay? So even kind of working with the concept of God is totally useless because you're working with a concept of infinity that you could never define. You can only understand the archetypes that exist within this infinity. Alright? So the element of fire. The element of fire is that of pushing the way of desire. Okay? The element of fire is when you see the order which is and desire a new order. This is the element that changes things. It's the element that changes the order that is. And the order that is the element of ice. And we're going to shrink this down even further. Ice is when you see the chaos. Ice is when you can understand this chaos and you make your own path from it, not expecting anyone else to follow this path. This is ice. Okay? That's the element of ice. And fire is when you expect others to follow this path. When you define it and push this definition, trying to melt the ice, trying to melt the individual paths. This is religion. So religion is fire, and spirituality is ice. And there is some combination between the two, the individual path, or the path of segregation, the path of separate paths, and the path of one true path. Neither is actually totally correct. The only true thing, now I'm saying this from a state of fire and ice, which is also meaningless. The only true thing is to sink into meaninglessness and understand it yourself, which leaves you with ice. But to say that, I say that from fire, which is to say that there is only one way, which is also in itself meaningless and trying to define infinity. Okay? And so, yeah, this is what we're left with. This is what we're left with from what I've seen, from altering my perception of reality with many things, with many magic meditations, many things, okay? You have chaos, order, fire, and ice. Now, when fire and ice collide, many things happen there. First of all, the fire is disintegrated by the water from the ice. The ice does not just melt. The ice cracks. It creates division within the ice. It creates something that is not equal within the ice. So this ice breaks apart and explodes if you throw it in a fire. That's what happens to ice. Okay? It explodes. And so both the fire and the ice neutralize each other. Fire and ice collide in this world on a daily basis to neutralize themselves. The only way either could survive is by leaving the other alone, and that's just what we see. You don't see preachers talking to genuine spiritual people that meditate and follow many different religious paths for the sake of spiritual wisdom, spiritual enlightenment. And you also do not really see spiritual people inviting preachers and evangelicans to meditate, to meditate with them and do breath work, because the only way either survives is by throwing the other far away from it. Allow me to explain this process of neutralization of the ice and the fire a little bit further. You see, now let's look at what fire represents. Fire represents those who push their will, those who accomplish, those who actually bring the chaos to the order. Okay? But they bring it to a new order, so they're still pushing order. That's why fire is representative of religion. So they push this way, and to melt the old way, which is ice, the way that is, which is ice. They melt it, okay, while neutralizing themselves, because this way which is not invalid. And neither is the way which is to come is invalid. And so since neither is invalid, because nothing is true nor untrue, basically that's what neutralizes it energetically. Because neither can win if both have understanding of the chaos. Ignorance causes both to think that there's a way to understand the chaos, to think that the order which is the way, or to think that the order which will come is the way, when in reality there is no way. It just is, and we're only here to experience this contraption. That's what the collision of fire and ice is. On a greater scale, I would also like to say that order is representative, or actually, the color black is representative of disorder. Because in the dark, things can move around in any way, unaware of how other things around them are moving. You cannot see what's going on. White is light. White is the color of light, just all the colors of light together. And that means that all these colors together make this order. So they're defined very strictly. Order becomes ice. Disorder becomes fire. Fire becomes order. And ice becomes disorder. Like a helix. They spin around each other. This is what I mean when I have said in the past that the truth is hidden within the TV static. The truth is actually hidden in the collision and the combination of order and disorder. Melting ice. Snow that's like slush causes chaos. Chaos is where the infinity of truth lies. And if something which is order causes disorder within the consciousness, then the consciousness can understand what created the order, which is disorder. Okay? So, order, disorder, fire, and ice. Those are the four wings of God that allow this reality that we're in to fly. And for those of you who have made it to the end of this video, which is very few of you, this is the symbol that represents the truth that I have tried to bring order to by describing in this video. And does it represent that objectively? No, it does not represent this objectively. But now you know. Now you know that that is what this symbol represents. Balance of the elements. Okay? The four infinite elements. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the bell notification icon. Goodbye.